You are listening to Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast.
When your heart is aching and your world is shaking, don't give up. No, don't give up.
Hello and welcome to Oh My Health, There Is Hope, the podcast. I'm your host, Jana Short, and today I am so excited to have Dr. Pia Martin with us. Dr. Martin is a natural functional medicine doctor. She was raised in Australia and currently resides in Austin, Texas. Dr. Martin graduated from Parker University in Dallas with 2 BAs, one in anatomy and the other in health and wellness, and a doctorate in chiropractic. She also holds 2 certifications, one as a clinical nutrition and one other in wellness coaching, with years of functional medicine and natural and nutritional training along the way. Dr. Martin is also a much sought after speaker, best-selling author, and is the writer of a natural health newsletter called Take the Doctor Home. Oh my gosh, I love that. Welcome to the show. I am so excited to have her. Dr. Martin wrote in one of our magazines, and it's obviously was received very well because now she's here on the podcast.
Well, hi, Jana, and thanks so much for having me. And, I remember our initial conversation, you reaching out and just saying, hey, all you docs out there in the trenches that are in there grinding every day, helping people get better, we'd love to feature you. So it was such a nice little blessing that turned up. And I was very happy to be part of this whole process with Holistic Life. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, because I know how busy all my doctors are. Like, they're so busy, especially, the last 2 years has been craziness. Yeah. And they still take the time to reach out and help educate you guys and give you information. And it's just really a blessing. So thank you. We're very grateful.
Yeah. And I think actually what's really important about this is I think that self-care and self-education and empowerment is the way forward for us. And we have to continue to be doing that on big scale so that our patients and universe can be as healthy as they can be. And we've certainly been given that reminder, haven't we?
We definitely have.
Yeah.
You know what? I feel like sometimes we need these wake-up calls, right? I didn't know it was going to hit the whole planet, but I think that wake-up calls for sure are things that we need to give us that little cattle prod and moving in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So one of the things we ask all of our guests to do is share a story of hope, because I truly believe our stories and journeys were given to us for a reason. And they're literally like heartbeats that we put out into the world to share with others and encourage them to keep moving and let them know that there's hope wherever they're at in their journey right now. So do you want to share your story of hope with us?
Okay, I will. I have lots of journeys and lots of stories of hope. I don't think it ever stops. I think they become punctuation marks along the way. But what got me started on this journey was, it's a little bit heartbreaking, but I had a pretty rough childhood, and my mother left the home when I was about 13 years old and left my father with 4 little kids. And I suddenly became a parent at 13 years old. And it was quite the shock. And it's that sort of age where you really need your mother, things are changing for you, and, having your father run to the store and try to help you out. And it was tough, and we didn't have very much money. It was scraping by all the time. But my father and I had this incredible bond. But it definitely took a toll on my teenage years. And I went out to work as soon as I could, they would have me. In fact, I sneaked into Target when I was 15, trying to get a job, even though 16 was the requirement to try and help the household with finances. So I went out into the workplace and I worked really, really hard. And then about 21 years old, that sort of pivotal point, I sort of had this great big sort of, burnout moment, this big old meltdown. I just stopped. I'd been running up to here and going and never really processed the feelings of abandonment and the things that had been happening to me along the way. As the tough little soldier, I was brought up by European parents. It's like you just keep going, and then, you fall down, you get back up, even though your knees are scraped. Anyway, that was a really hard time, and I was, not very healthy, and I was skinny, I would say. and really not looking at life with very much optimism. And I happened to be in a coffee shop in Sydney, Australia, and a guy was sitting across from me, and he was like open-chested and smiling, and, you know, the world was just out there ready to be taken. And I said, I want to know where you have been. And it was really interesting for me to be so, you know, bold about that, because I wasn't feeling bold at the time. And he said, I've been to yoga class. And I went, oh no, yoga class, okay. And we're talking a long time ago now. So I went to my first yoga class. They weren't sure I was in the right place, but I said yes, I wanted to be there. And every day I went and I worked on my physical health, my mental health, and slowly but surely I started to notice how the foods I affected my spiritual and emotional health and my physical health. And so I started to make those changes along the way. So I realized at that point, my journey could have gone separate ways. It could have gone into the medical, psychiatric, a lot of those kinds of routines, and I probably never would have recovered from any of that. But I ended up going to yoga practice. And it wasn't one class. It was a series of classes. It was a year in India. It was a full healing. And that story was what encouraged me to be a wellness doctor and to travel down that road and say, you know what, with the right things for the right person at the right time for long enough, those small little incremental things add up into major changes. It's kind of like the bamboo story, you know, planting the seed, and then when you have all the nutrients, boom. So that's how this wellness journey started for me. And yeah, I'm still doing yoga every day, showing up, seeing what turns up every day.
I love that story.
Yeah, that's my journey of hope. And hopefully I'm living and breathing, not perfect, but living and breathing what I'm trying to instill in others. So if I can do it, so can others.
By the way, I love that story. And I remember thinking when I was growing up, when I saw women doing yoga, like that's not even really exercise. They're not even moving really. They get in a position, they stay there. But then I took my first yoga class and I was absolutely amazed. There were women in there of all different ages, and they looked healthy and fit. And I was like, but they're not really doing anything. I feel like you have to hurt yourself and be in the gym sweating and to get any results. But I love it. I want to call it holistic workout because it's for the whole body. It's spiritual, it's mental, it's physical. And it literally it can change your life. Look what it's done for you.
It did. And, you know, BKS Iyengar, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but the father of American modern yoga, he used to say, the reason why we do asana, or yoga posture, is so we can be in the present moment. So we leave the past and regret behind, and we don't worry about the future. And that is why we stay in the poses, particularly those that are challenging, because we have to be in that moment to learn about ourselves. And you can't stand on one leg if your thoughts are somewhere else. You have to be really inside of you. And that's where the magic happens, is in the present moment. Yeah.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about how that led you to what you're doing now. I also definitely want to talk about building healthy humans and who that's for, what it's about. And for me, it sounds like I have not had the opportunity to read it, but I'm going to be reading it. But for me, it sounds like building healthy humans is doing, of course, taking care of ourselves first, but by example, we are reaching out and sharing that influence with our children, with our families, with our parents. And you know what? They start following along.
They do start following along. Actually, building healthy humans is about prenatal health. So the tagline is your guide to a balanced and beautiful pregnancy for a happy, healthy baby. And this came about because I went to a red tent event. I was practicing in San Diego at the time, and one of my mothers was pregnant, and she'd had an incredible experience with me. And one of the things that she wanted to do was go to the natural birth community, and they have what they call a red tent, where everybody tells their story every year around the world, actually. And she said, would you come while I tell my story? I said, absolutely, I'll go. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And, you can't see me, but I'm the pencil skirt and pumps kind of gal. And I walk into this very sort of, much more laid back environment, and I definitely stood out. But anyway, she told her story. And from that moment, suddenly I started getting a lot of pregnant moms and people reaching out, and I'm like, whoa, okay. And it was quite, whenever you've taken care of someone that is building a life and you go through the experience with them, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. To be in the birth room with that energy, there is nothing like it for someone who does what I do. To give someone the best start in their life is just amazing. And so, yes, but why I wrote the book is that same mother called me up 3 months, later, and she said, I'm pregnant again. And, and I said, okay, great. And come in and all the rest of it. But it wasn't the same sort of pregnancy. She had some struggles along the way. And I said, you need to listen to your body, check in with your OB, see what's going on. There's definitely something that you're being told here. Well, it turns out that, she had some struggles, ended up in the hospital with an immune condition. And then she called me up when she got released and she said, could you come over and treat me? And I'm like, oh, I don't really know. It's one of those moments where you're not really sure if that's what your journey should be or not be. And I said, because I'm a helper, I'm here to help people. I said, yes, I will. And I'm thinking, I will do what I can in the moment. So I took care of her and adjusted her, and we worked on some nutritional clearing and things like that. She got up from the table and she said, this is the best I have felt for the entire pregnancy. And I said, okay. But it was one of those moments where it's like the shining light. It was like, whoa, something bigger than me was happening. Anyway, fast forward, I'm driving home and the phone rings and it's her mother. And she said, I'll say it, it's Rachel. Nobody will know who I mean. Rachel has just given birth to a baby girl. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I was, my whole body went rigid and I was crying. But here's the good news. She's alive because it was 6 months. She was only 6 months pregnant. So she was 3 months early and she was breathing on her own. And we found that had she not given birth in that moment, both mother and baby would have died. Oh, so it was a very pinnacle point in my career as to it could have gone a lot of different ways. And I thought, you know what? Now is the time for me to open up and really share and provide the tools for women to have a simple and a beautiful and a balanced pregnancy. And it took a lot of courage because I have to tell my own story. When you write a book, it takes courage. You have to write the intro. Why did you do this? So that is why I wrote Building Healthy Humans, because of Rachel and the story of her little miracle, Cece, who's alive and well and running all over the place. And, it was just amazing, but it could have gone a lot of different ways. So I'm incredibly grateful that the universe gave me that signal that I needed to do this.
That is such a beautiful story.
Still gets me today.
Yes, like that is so beautiful. And as a mom with 4 children, I remember my experiences. And I also had my last child was born at 6 months. So I know that the struggle that comes with that, like the joy that you have this beautiful child, and then all the fear that comes in, right?
Yes.
So Building Healthy Humans is about how we're taking care of our bodies when we get pregnant. Having said that, for those of us planning pregnancies, you can pre-build your human, right? It's so important to be aware that we are creating that beautiful space to conceive in. And so I know that, is there a part of your book that talks about the pre?
Actually, there's a very big section in there that talks about prenatal health. And in actual fact, that's part of the reason that the book actually talks about pregnancy in the whole, but the prenatal part. And I'm very, very big on getting dads involved. I like my parents to come in and talk to me about, 120 days minimum. so that we can have a healthy pregnancy, a healthy sperm, a healthy egg. We can make the adjustments. We can do it together as a team because, much like my article talks about this epigenetics, it's like we have to take care of our environment so we can express our genetic potential. And more than ever, we need what we call a generation of hope, which is about the article I wrote, is that we need to do this prenatal planning more than ever. The statistics out there right now about infertility and the struggle with miscarriage and the stress around all of that is just through the roof. So I want to encourage and empower parents to get into the state of prenatal planning before they decide on conception. And it takes a lot of work. It's like, what kinds of values and beliefs? How do we want to raise this child? Mum and dad do it together. It's not only mum's responsibility. So I'm very big on that. And I do have I have a program that I use in clinic, but I'm thinking I need to put it into a course and get it out into the world.
By the way, that is an incredible statement that you just made. And one of the things, first of all, I'm a fan of epigenetics because I have some nasty genes. I don't know if it was you I was talking about I had tested positive for the BRCA gene. So I had to do certain things because of that. Having said that, when you're empowered by knowing your genetics, because you really can flip some of those switches. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to be aware. So just because maybe I had multiple people in my family have breast cancer, ovarian cancer, it doesn't mean necessarily that I'm genetically predestined. Right. And even if I am genetically predestined, they will tell you that if you get breast cancer or ovarian cancer, it's just really an 80% dumb, stupid luck, like on top of it, right? But one of the things that you mentioned that I thought was really important was involving the spouses. Like you think it's just the women, right? But our environment has changed for men as well. And when I was younger, I used to tell people if I watch a dirty movie, I had to take a pregnancy test. Like I was so fertile. And everyone I knew was the same way. But now it's flipped the other way where young women are struggling to get pregnant. Yes. And it's unheard of for me. Like, what is happening? Like, I might have known one or two people that were struggling to get pregnant. Now it's like everybody is like, I've been trying for 2 years. I'm now seeing a specialist. And I thought, well, maybe because they're waiting longer. Maybe it's because, but I really think it has something to do with our environment that we're in and the space that we've created for, creating our babies.
The way I see it is that, genetics essentially haven't changed in thousands and thousands of years, but our epigenetics, our environment has become incredibly toxic. It's changed so much, especially in the last 50 years. And sperm count, believe it or not, has the quality of sperm and the sperm count has actually decreased 50% in the last 40 years, which is just 2 generations or a generation and a half. So it's affecting men and women. And to your point, yes, they are waiting a little bit longer to get pregnant than they used to. They're into the workforce and education and everything else to try and provide the financial support. But there's more to it than that. There's really just more to it than that. Our epigenetics, everything around us needs to take into consideration. And we're, not eating as well. We're living in an environment that has a lot of toxicity, the things that we're breathing, we're not exercising as much, we're having way more stress. And people say, well, it's a stressful life, it's a stressful life. I think we've forgotten how to calm down and just be in nature and allow that. So yeah, as you said, the switch has flipped.
It definitely has. Do you have some tips in that book for both women and men, like getting ready to start this beautiful phase of their life?
Yes, I do.
Can you share them or a couple of them?
Yeah, I do. Well, first and foremost, I like to have my couples do what I call a family manifesto. So first we need to rule out structural issues. Let's make sure that all the structure and everything else is where it needs to be. Let's get our baseline labs in place so we can see where everything is nutritionally and otherwise metabolically. But then I like parents to sit down and think about their manifesto for their family. What are the values and beliefs that we want for our family? What are the do we sit down for dinner every night? Do we take walks in nature? Do we have a vegetable garden? Do we have every member of the family have a responsibility of being there? Who carries the weight? Is dad at home? Is mum at home? Who's working? How are we doing this? What are the roles? I'm seeing it more of a team effort. So we sit down and we go, okay, in my case, it would be Team Martin. Team Martin is now going to build a healthy human. So we sit down and we look at the values and beliefs, and those values and beliefs drive decisions. When things come up, they go, well, does this fit what we said we wanted? It's like being a brand for a business, let's say. It's like, does this fit the brand that we actually want, or the manifesto? So I have people start there. And then they really have to have a really good look at where their stresses are. They have to be able to create space. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to stop working now, or we're going to start now to get pregnant, and we haven't created any space for another human. We haven't created the nutrients for another human to live, right? We haven't thought about it in that way. And so it's quite interesting. It does, young people today think that they can flip it on and flip it off without thinking through, what do we need to get rid of so that we can have this come into our life? So when they do that, they find it's a much more organic kind of thing. And when couples do this together, it's much more organic. I can't tell you how many stories I have of dads saying, do you know my wife's giving birth next week? She didn't tell me. I said, excuse me? She's out to here. What are you saying? It's like it took them by surprise. But in fairness, maybe they should have been there in the beginning together. So those are the tips. Clean up the diet, clean up the environment, do a family values and beliefs. Make sure the structural things are there and create space for the human that needs to come in.
So from hindsight, as a grandmother now,
wow.
I wish somebody had given me that golden nugget of creating that beautiful manifesto of what your family brand is, basically, which is a beautiful way of putting it. Because now that I look back, I miss so much because I didn't realize what I had started the whole process for. And so I really would tell you, for those of you who've had been told a million times, don't blink, they're gone and having babies of their own, that actually happens. Like you blink and it's gone. And all those moments that might be in your manifesto, you'll look back and say, I didn't do that. I missed that. And these were important to me. So I think that's a beautiful way to start with whoever your partner is when you're creating this new brand that you're bringing new people into.
There you go. That might be a new thing. Now you're going to build your brand. Maybe that works.
I know, brand Martin, brand short. Like I have a brand.
Exactly right. Yeah.
I wish I could have passed that on to my children who are having children. I just keep telling, don't blink, like be in the moment, even if it's an angry moment, like absorb it because they're gone. You're going to miss those angry moments and those missed nights of sleep. I do. But here's the thing. When you get my age, you get what I call the do-over, which is grandchildren. Yes. And I will tell you now, I do have a manifesto. I know literally what my vision is with my grandchildren, and I live it. Like it's about creating memories for them, creating these beautiful memories that when I'm gone one day, they'll be like, do you remember when Nana did this with us? Do you remember when Papa and Nana took us here? And we don't even give Christmas gifts anymore. We give memories. So we'll take the grandkids on a vacation where they're all together, all 7 grandkids. And they're like, do you remember when we were with our cousins at the beach? But this happened because I asked one year, what did we get you last year for Christmas? I don't know. I don't either. I could not remember what we got them. And I remember the stress of trying to figure out buying it. And I'm like, we're not doing gifts anymore. You can't even remember what you got last year.
No, but you remember going fishing.
Yes.
You remember going hunting. Yes. You remember, playing spray in the backyard. You remember cooking together. You remember all of those wonderful moments. So I agree with you. Experiences are certainly the key for sure.
So tell us a little bit about where people can connect with you. For those of you who are on the beginning of starting that family journey, or just thinking maybe in the next couple of years, hey, you cannot start too soon getting your body ready. It's true. You can't. I mean, it should be not stressful. It becomes habit forming when you start taking good care of yourself and being aware of things. So where can people connect with you to find out all this great information?
Well, Building Healthy Humans is on Amazon.com. So if you're looking for a start, I wrote this as a very simple book. So it's designed for you to feel empowered. It's not crazy science. It's just simple stuff for you to think about as parents, and as it should be, right? So Amazon.com. You can find me on Instagram at Dr Pia Martin. So spelled out DOCTOR Martin. And you can find me on drpia.com. I have a weekly newsletter that I send out. And I've been doing that for 10 years. I'm quite proud of myself. Maybe it's 13 years now, but I've been doing it a very long time. And that's something I commit to all of my, I guess, followers or people that I take care of, is that they can count on some wonderful down-to-earth tips and health and wellness, I guess, cut through the noise types of, information at drpia.com. And there's also a pop-up there if anyone's interested on immune resilience, and certainly we could all use some of that. I'm here virtually and in clinic. I do 2 half days in clinic here in Austin, Texas, y'all. I'm practicing my y'all. And and you can reach me on 214-869-6404 and at drpiamartin@gmail.com.
By the way, for those of you who maybe didn't catch it, we're going to put all of this amazing stuff in the links, including the link to purchase her book. And of course, the links to all of her social media and her website. And I would totally recommend signing up for that newsletter, because I'm definitely not having any babies anytime soon, but that doesn't mean my body doesn't need the love and care that it needs to keep thriving in the state that it's in now. So thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Martin. It's been amazing having you here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Oh My Health, There Is Hope podcast. Make sure to visit Jana's website, bestholisticlife.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play, or listen there, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you simply tell a friend about the show. That'll help too. Let's change the world together, one health expert at a time. Looking forward to seeing you next time.